Everyone, and welcome to Club 2, Episode 17 of Rolling in the Isles, an FM20 British Isles Journeyman series with me, the United City FM. It's great to have you with me. There is an awful lot to get through today in fairly short time, so let's dive straight in. And the first thing I want to talk about is the weekend I've just had and the fact that Loki Doki and Loki Doki's army have completely transformed my entire YouTube existence. I will be releasing a video later this week once I've sorted a webcam out, which I am in the process of sorting. And once I've got the webcam sorted, I will then release a video later this week that will be a sort of response to Loki Doki and to the situation that's happened over this last weekend. But just to let you know, in very, very brief terms, at this moment in time, it has completely blown my mind. And I will be addressing it fully later this week. So keep an eye out for that, because that will drop probably Thursday, Friday, somewhere around there, depending on when I can sort the webcam out. But it's coming. I will be referring to it, the situation from the weekend and everything that's changed and what that means for the channel moving forward. But just at the moment, I'm not quite ready to do that yet. So today we're going to focus purely on the in-game stuff of my Journeyman series. And as I say, later in the week, I will be addressing the Loki Doki stuff. And it is just extraordinary and has completely blown my tiny little mind. But yeah, so for now, what I'm going to do in this particular episode is I'm going to catch you up on where we've been a little bit in the series so far, just for anybody that hasn't caught the entire series. For those that have been on catch-up duty over the last couple of days, bear with me just for this particular episode while I catch everybody up a little bit. And then we'll be talking about the summer transfers that I've just been through as well. We're sitting on the 12th of July. We're soon going to be playing our first qualifying round in the European Champions League against Chirac from Armenia, I think they are. Let's go and check that. Yes, Armenia. So the double header of Chirac, the two games, will be in tomorrow's episode, in episode 18. So that will be coming tomorrow. Today, I don't think I've got enough time to do everything justice if I put the games into this particular episode. I hope you'll understand that, and tomorrow we will be watching those two games. So for now, let's just do a very, very quick rundown of how this particular save started. So if we go to my profile and we go through my history and job history, you can see that we started with Cobb Ramblers in the Irish First Division, and we spent a couple of seasons there. And in the second season, far in advance of where we expected to, we actually finished top of the table and we got them promoted to the Irish Premier League. And it was really, really too early, because the side wasn't built quality-wise enough. We weren't quite able to cope with what the Premier League gave us. So in the Premier League, let's go and have a look at the current Premier League. You see that Cobb Ramblers are not there anymore. They got relegated the season after I left, which is kind of why I left. I knew it was coming. We finished in the end, in this first season in the Premier Division here, we finished in 8th on the very last day of the season. Sorry for any spoilers that haven't caught up to that point yet. I'm really sorry. I should have mentioned that before. But yes, we did. We survived in the league on the last day of the season, and we kept them up, which was extraordinary because we lost about the first 12 games in a row in this league. The board expected it, so they weren't overly unhappy, but that's what happened. And eventually we turned the tide. We got enough points to claw our way back to those that were directly above us, and on the very last day we survived in the division. And then I could see that we weren't going to be able to move forward from that particularly well, so I made the decision that I needed to then move on from there. So I quit the position, spent a little bit of time, a few months out of work, looking for the right opportunity. There were several that came up that weren't quite right. There were loads and loads that turned me down. But in the end, I settled upon Connor's Key Nomads in the Welsh Premier League. And the reason that I wanted to come into the Welsh Premier League is because I thought it was going to be fairly easy to bring a certain level of success to this side. So when I took over from them, they were in 7th position towards the end of a particular season. And at the 22nd game mark in this division, the competition then splits, and the top 6 play each other for the rest of the season, and the bottom 6 play each other for the rest of the season. And we ended up in that bottom 6 in that first season, and it was unexpected. And I think that's possibly one of the reasons why their manager got sacked at the time, and I took over the job. So we played that second half of the season in the lower competition, but what it gave me was a chance to really sort out a tactic and a way of playing that I felt was pretty good for who I had available to me, and in the long run has been very successful. And it meant that I was able to stick a gegenpress in there and train it well and perform with it pretty well over a number of matches. And by the end of the season, they were more proficient at it. And it meant that coming into the following season, we were able to sort of hit the ground running, as it were, in the division, and use the same tactic against the higher sides as well, and really try and sort of stamp our own way of playing on each individual game, rather than being passive and letting the opposition decide how the game's going to go. And so that's what we tried to do. And in the second season in the Premier Division, which is the one that I've just finished, you can see that where we were predicted about 5th, which I would have been anywhere above that, I would have been delighted with, just because it was still a work in progress. We finished top. And we got so many awards, and we won the title, obviously, the Welsh Premier League title, and that qualified us for European Champions League, which is just extraordinary at this point. Obviously, it's a really early qualifying round, but it was the Champions League nonetheless. And so it was, again, a little bit early. So what I would suggest about my current Connors Quay Nomad side is you can see that they've hovered around a bit in the Premier League for a while, but we won the title with them, which is extraordinary. So what it meant was there were a number of players at the back end of last season that I lost because they weren't prepared to sign new contracts, because they didn't think that we were of a high enough standard, some of my slightly better players. So I've lost a couple of them. I've kicked off a few that were on high wages that I wasn't using. I've got rid of some deadwood as well. And I've had a bit of a rejig in the transfer market slightly. It's not been an overhaul by any stretch of the imagination, but it's been slight. So you won't see many of the players that are out. I mean, we could go and find them in sort of free transfer lists and released players lists, etc. But there's a few that have gone out that are fairly inconsequential. The only ones that I really need to tell you about are McBurney, who was one of the key stars to my show last season in this attacking midfield role. You can see his passing isn't particularly good, but he had some good mental attributes and some good physical attributes, and his first touch was good, so he was able to perform really well, and he did a decent enough job for me as a youngster. I'd love to have kept him around, but he didn't. And the other one that in the end left was this guy, Harris. Again, I was trying to get rid of him for a little while because he was on high wages, but he played an important role for me. And it's these sorts of players with these sorts of attributes that I'm trying to replace in my side. Looking through, was there anybody else I need to point out? No, I don't think there is really. There's a couple of others in there that have played a bit for us, but in the end they left. So, there you go. So what we've managed to do is we've managed to bring 4 players in just to add a bit of competition into the first 11 and the squad. So this is one of the guys that have come in to play the McBurney role, and this is Leo Smith. He's a 25-year-old Welsh guy, and most of these, if not I think all of these, are free transfers, so we just work within the structure of the club that we've got as much as is possible. So you can see that he's a bit more consistent over more of his attributes than McBurney is, in the sense of he's got a few more 10s here and above through specifically his mentals, which is good. He's never going to set the world alight, but I think he'll come in and do a similar job than McBurney did. And then we move on to Fuller. And Fuller has come in to provide competition to Brass, who is my current number 1 goalkeeper, and I suspect this guy will probably take over that mantle. I just wanted to take away one of the youngsters from my squad because he wasn't quite up to playing in the league. Whenever I gave him a game, it always struggled a little bit, and put in a more experienced reserve or at least alternate goalkeeper, so we can have a bit of competition for places. So Will Fuller has come in to fight for that goalkeeping jersey. Then we got Craig Pritchard, who is going to come in with the guy that we've just spoken about, Leo Smith, and he's going to come in and fight for this number 10 role, sitting behind the striker. And again, he's not going to set the world alight. You can see he's got some gaps, but there's some decent, especially physical attributes for this guy. And a roundabout kind of way with all of these transfers, this is basically just the best I could find at the time that I was looking for them, so that's why we brought these guys in specifically above anybody else. And the last one is in the central midfield spot that we had a gap for, and we brought in George Hughes, 24-year-old English guy, and you can see his attributes are pretty good. His physicals are not very good at all, but the way that we play, obviously we're playing the gegenpress, so we do need a little bit of the physicals. I understand that. This guy will not be a first choice. I don't think he will anyway. He might fight his way in, but he won't start as a first choice probably. But you can see he's got some good mentals and some decent technicals in some key areas, which is positive. And so those are the four that I bought in. What it's meant is that we've got a fairly good balanced squad now. We've got, this is the way that I expect us to start this particular season in terms of the personnel, and we'll introduce you to some more of these as we go for those that are new, but that's basically going to be the starting 11, and the rest will get their opportunities basically, and be given chances to see if they can sort of stamp a claim on a place. So there's not much that's happened. We are a championship winning side, so I didn't want to do too much, but we had a few key players, as I say, that went missing because of various reasons that we had to replace. And we also have the financial issue that we are in the red, which is a problem. The club has always been in the red since I've been here. We've been trying to battle back. We got given a huge wage budget, which is like double what we've had before because we're in the Champions League. But I thought it was really careless for me to go too far into it, because the minute we lose the Champions League spot, if we don't, qualify for it next season, etc., then the club are in even more trouble again financially. So I'm trying to be responsible with that. So that's the other reason why we haven't gone overboard with some transfers. The other reason is, to be honest, there weren't many to attract. It was quite hard to find decent players in this particular transfer window. So yeah, that's quite a short version of where we've been over the summer. And what I would say is that this is probably going to be my last season at Connors Quay Nomads. I think given a hit at the Champions League qualifying, if I could qualify past a couple of rounds, that would be amazing, but I'm not holding up much hope. But if I could, then I don't know what else I could particularly achieve with this particular side. I don't think we'd get much further than that. So it might be time for me to move on. The only other thing to say before we close up this sort of rambly episode a little bit is that in terms of my own profile, you can see that I'm studying now for the Continental B licence. All the way through my career, I've been studying for the licences, having started at the rock bottom. And you can see that I've got a couple of 9s and a couple of 10s and an 11, etc. in my ratings now. So things are beginning to improve. So hopefully at the back end of this coming season, if I decide to move on, then there might be one or two other better jobs that I could find. So that's kind of a very brief history of where we've been. I've talked about the Loki Doki stuff, which will be coming later this week, I promise you. And there's a new series that I will be starting later this week, which will be probably a relegation battle, maybe a bottom at Christmas type sort of save on a short-term basis to work alongside this. I'll sort my schedule out and tell you about that later. That series is probably likely to start next week as we speak, just because I got one or two other things to sort out this week for the channel. And tomorrow's episode will be the double header, if I can fit them in, against Chirac in the Champions League qualifying round. So come back for that. It would be really great to have you with me. I'm absolutely blown away by what's happened this weekend. I hope this isn't too dull a start for you all in terms of where we move on from now. What I would say, just to finish this off, is I'm acutely aware of where I've got all of my new subscribers from and how they've arrived at my channel. That the thing that I will try and promise you as much as I can is that I will try and produce the best content I can moving forward and learn from my mistakes and try and provide something that will keep you here if possible. That's all I can now do, is try and keep you guys here that have joined me recently, try and add some new people as we go, and try and improve the content. And that's all I can do from this point, and that's what I intend to do. So hope you'll join me for that. Thanks very much for joining me today. Sorry there was no action in it in terms of actual gameplay action in that sense, but I thought it was a worthwhile sort of episode to do just to catch everybody up. And I will see you tomorrow for more action-based stuff against Chirac. So thanks very much. I hope you're enjoying the series. If those of you that have gone back and looked at it are, I hope you're enjoying it. If you are, then, and you haven't already subscribed to the channel, then please do. It really, really helps to keep up to date with the videos and keep my channel building, which is great. The other thing to say now is if you could click that like button for me, that would be incredible. One of the problems I've been having is getting seen by people in the search engines of YouTube, and one of the ways to combat that is more and more likes on the videos. So if you could click the like button, that would be amazing. If you're playing Football Manager yourself, let me know how your save's going on in the comments below. Always interested to hear people's FM stories. But until next time, take care of yourselves. I will see you very soon. Bye for now.